April is the month of premenstrual disorder awareness. Premenstrual disorders, such as PMDD or PME, are grossly underdiagnosed and misunderstood, despite the harm that they can bring. And no, it's not just horrible PMS, it's a bunch of horrible physical and emotional symptoms. With many people, it can affect them constantly, and it can often make it hard for them to do everyday tasks. Think about it like every time you're about to get your period, for 3 weeks out of the month, you go into a major depression episode. For this reason, I urge you to donate to the IMPMD, an organization that provides resources for those with premenstrual disorders, including video chats, where to find doctors, resources if you think you might have it. If not, that's totally fine. I just hope you can educate yourselves. Donate today, and remember, you are loved, you are wanted, and you got this. Now on with the video.
I'm used to not dancing. I mean, I knew what to expect after, Joe's accident, and I'm prepared to live the rest of my life this way.
Poor Bonnie.
Wow, and I thought Chucky and Tiffany had a horrible breakdown of their relationship. Sweet face. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Family Guy. Or more specifically, Bonnie and Joe Swanson. Although, mostly Bonnie, this is going to be like an in defense of Bonnie video. Now, previously, in the Kitty Monk Chronicles, during my arguably first Family Guy video, me and Lydia Loves Timeline talked about Joe Swanson and how we loved what Family Guy originally did with him, being a cop who loved to protect and serve and just happened to be paralyzed from the waist down, but not letting it stop him because he loved defending his friends and his neighbors. But we also said how we disliked how as the show went on, while I myself did not really mind the jokes about him being disabled because, hey, Family Guy makes fun of everybody, and for some reason I just like how stupid the wheelie stupid head joke is. I did dislike how they made him a sad, pathetic guy, like secretly depressed, secretly wishing he was in the ground just because he was in a wheelchair. And part of that had to do with Bonnie. Bonnie is Joe's wife, and originally one of his many pillars of support. They had a functional, loving relationship that wasn't really hampered by Joe's condition, I'd argue. If anything, Bonnie was willing to spend the rest of her life putting herself on hold to take care of Joe, and she thought he was a super strong man, regardless of the chair. The problem? Well, as the show went on, it seemed like Bonnie became a lot angrier at the world, and she took this feeling out on Joe of all people, and at times it's hard to watch. Nowadays, it seems like she'll only be happy if he's dead. But strangely, doing this review, I hate to say it, I kinda get it. So, let's discuss. Like I said above, Bonnie is Joe's wife, and one of the next door neighbors to the Griffins. She and Joe moved to Spooner Street in the episode A Hero Sits Next Door. Having come from Providence, she and Joe moved to Quahog now that Bonnie is about to give birth to their second child. Hopefully one day. But they also brought their son, Kevin. Don't worry, we'll get to him when we get to him.
We are gonna miss the go pace of Providence, but with number 2 on the way, Joe thought it was time to move, and I can't say no to Joe. Ever.
Off the bat, it's great to see what a healthy and loving couple they are. Heck, it was great to see Bonnie with her weirdo early installment weirdness hair, and Lois make friends right off the bat. Kitty, I think you made a pun, considering how this episode is the one where Joe does baseball. Yes, I know, Catherine, it's called joking. Granted, I feel like this sort of plants the seeds for what eventually happens. Like this comment right here.
Quahog can be pretty exciting too. Last week, someone lost an eye at bingo.
Oh, I haven't played bingo in years.
Is it a sign that Bonnie is still kind of like Lois, just being a busy housewife who doesn't really get out much? Or does having to take care of Joe leave her very little time to pursue her own interests and hobbies? Like she's bottling up for his sake, if only slightly. Still, this episode showed they had a great marriage, and it was sweet to see.
Whoa. All right, Joe. Way to earn that parking space.
Did you see that?
However, while they had a lot of great moments together, well, I feel like there's a reason they eventually went down the toilet. First off, the reality of one person taking care of another person. Believe it or not, Joe's Walking on Air touched on this possibility. The guys love their usual hangout spot of the Drunken Clam as a getaway from their wives, their families, and their problems. Didn't they build a real-life one in LA, like last year? Oh my god, it sucks that us East Coast people don't get fun crap like that. Disney, when will you finally give us a Family Guy land? when? I know The Simpsons is closing, like, at that. Anyhow, Bonnie, Lois, and this chick...
Bernice, we haven't really been dating long enough for you to be hanging out with my friend's wife.
Oh yeah, her. Have started to attend the Drunken Clam too. Ugh, they're gonna put a damper on the fun. No offense, gals, but I'm the type where you don't really defecate where you eat. Rather than just tell the girls to leave or going somewhere else that isn't their homes, the guys decide to build a Quahog men's club where they try to do fun stuff with little fezzes, like in Good Neighbors from SpongeBob, but they find it's too boring with no women and no Squidward. I mean, come on, just sitting around talking? That is sick.
I've always had this business plan for home delivery of prescription medications, and that seems like it's more her market.
This is stupid. I want to talk about
Feed the fish.
Eventually, their wives show up and they decide to just have a fun, giant party together. But Joe can't really participate, and Bonnie decides to sit it out with him.
It's okay, Joe. I don't mind sitting here with you.
What I mean is, I don't want to hold you back.
Don't be silly, honey. It's just as nice watching other people have fun.
Yeah, no offense, episode, Bonnie is also heavily pregnant, and I'm not saying this because she needs to take care of herself and the baby, but I feel like when you're pregnant, you also get tired a lot more easily. I mean, especially with your ankles, so I feel like maybe she has a right to sit down or sit out and take care of herself. But Joe decides that it's unfair of Bonnie to hold herself back for his sake, so he decides that the only way she'll ever have her freedom is if he's able to walk again.
Wait a minute, what am I saying? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm no different than any other guy.
Joe, would you put on your hand shoes and take out the garbage?
An experimental surgery from Dr. Hartman allows him to once again walk, but there's a problem. Well, a big problem. Joe kinda becomes a jerk, which sadly makes sense. He forgot what it's like to walk, and now he's relishing in it. And plus, he's a cop, and even if you're wheelchair-bound, it does require a certain level of physical athleticism and endurance. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe was like this prior to his accident. Like, he could break your neck with one chop or something. Plus, they say that a lot of paraplegics have really great upper body strength for obvious reasons. So he ends up pushing away his friends and eventually leaving Bonnie for being boring.
Joe, please, can't we talk about this?
I've outgrown you, Bonnie. I need to spread my legs and fly.
You leaving Bonnie?
Out of my way, Peter.
Oh, poor Bonnie. Like, what a jerk. This lady stood by you for years, as you said, put herself on hold for you, and this is how you're gonna repay her? Not like, Bonnie, I want you to be free, just like, no, bye, B-word. So the guys decide the only way to make sure Joe will no longer be a jerk is if they are able to make it so he can't walk again. But obviously, Joe is stronger than all of them combined, and he easily pummels them. But can he pummel a gun? I don't think so. Bonnie decides to help out by shooting Joe.
Bonnie, what the hell? Put my gun down.
Not until I have my husband back!
Aww. Too bad that unlike Tiffany, she don't know how to aim.
My perfect ass!
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I was aiming for your spine.
Damn it!
Joe, I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible shot.
Something tells me she did this on purpose, and I don't blame her. Just saying, considering how Joe treated her, maybe she's like, oh, Joe, I'm so sorry I did that. But I like how Joe doesn't mind. He's just like, Bonnie, I need it done correctly. I'll do it myself. These two were made for each other. However, I think you know by now that this was a sign they had difficulties. Difficulties they really needed to get out to the forefront. Both of them have a tendency to swallow their feelings and bottle up for the other person. Bonnie with her problems in general, especially when it comes to taking care of Joe, and Joe with his difficulties being disabled. Which, I'm not trying to come off or sound ableist, it's just that we see that while Joe has accepted his condition, there are still parts about it that he hates. And this was when they started making jokes about Joe's condition, like the fact he wears a diaper and Bonnie has to change both him and Susie, which even Patrick Warburton, Joe's voice actor, came out at the time and said how much he hated that joke. In an interview with Premium Hollywood, he said, you know, my mother actually thinks my soul is in peril for being on that show, and after I watched last Sunday's episode, I thought, geez, maybe she's right. Joe's getting his diaper changed, and I am going to hell for being on this show. You know, my rationalization is that it is just absurd, crazy humor, and what the f***? It is a deplorable show. It's horrible. Now let me make it clear for the rest of this video, again, I really hate what they did to Joe and Bonnie. Since I loved how they were the most stable couple on the block, then you know me, I love good disability rap. But weirdly, this is actually very strange. I noticed when I started writing the script, even if the show probably did not intend it until later, I feel like they gave a good excuse for why the pair eventually ended up becoming toxic. Like a better one than Lois and Peter. And it was for many reasons. And one of those reasons, because Bonnie not only had to take care of Joe, but she eventually had to take care of 2 children on top of that. Let's start with Susie, because it's not really really Susie's fault, she's just a baby, but you know what I mean. Throughout the show, Bonnie was heavily pregnant, and that was the prime reason they moved to Quahog. They wanted a better opportunity for the baby that would never be born for like 10 years, but their daughter was eventually born. And I will say that I liked how Joe tried to stay by Bonnie's side during the final days of her pregnancy, like he's taking care of her the same way she took care of him, even if the guys do hate it.
Guys, I don't think I can make it today. It's looking like Bonnie might go into labor any minute, so I think I should stick close to home.
It's your fault for knocking her up.
But there's a problem. Not with Susie, this is before she became Avery Bullock's avatar, the same way Phyllis was for Stan, but with the fact that this led to a massive hospital bill which they could not afford.
How bad is it?
It's $20,000.
Oh my god, where are we gonna get that kind of money?
I don't know, but we gotta figure that out soon.
Which I would comment on, like, don't they have insurance? But considering burning down the Bayage showed that the Swansons have had problems with insurance, and that's part of why Joe is in a wheelchair, I can assume that's not really an option. Or the insurance only covered part of the bill, but not a substantial amount to really make a difference. So Joe turns to whatever method he can to support Bonnie, be it working as a dishwasher at the Clam, or taking a loan out with loan sharks. Joe, you're a cop, what the hey, you know you never do that. You instead find a Don with a daughter like Big Fat Polly, and ask him for a favor on the day of his daughter's wedding. Just don't ask for tiramisu, I know how it looks, but resist. Because the loan sharks are gonna turn him into Mimsy, he decides to go to Carter and ask for the money, which I can get Carter not doing because he doesn't really know Joe, but come on dude, he desperately needs it, and I'm sure that's like an hour's pay for you. You can do without it. So they scheme to instead steal the money, Joe actually being willing to break the law if it's for his family.
Do you really want to go through with this?
I have to, Lois, for my family. I don't know where else to get $20,000.
Really, Kevin, you should have brought this up. This is a better example of Joe breaking the law that is comparable to you deserting the military because you disagree with the war effort. Thankfully, Lois talks him down by saying that if Joe goes to prison, well, nobody will be left to watch his family or help them, because what is he gonna do? He's in jail. He can never watch his daughter grow up, and you know as well as I do that Carter is gonna throw the book at him and then some. He'll turn him into a Swanson family buffet, not a Swanson TV dinner like those merciful loan sharks. Stick Alistair on them, come on. But Lois is able to get the money by duping Carter, and Joe reluctantly decides to give up the robbery, even getting Megatron to further his own point.
Put the money back and get out of there.
What? Are you out of your mind?
Tell him, Megatron.
Do as I command!
Okay, jeez.
Aw, you're sweet. But I know, I might be repeating myself, I do think it's ironic how the show basically gave them license to be a horrible couple to each other, with tragedy after tragedy piling up. Remember how I said they had a son? Kevin. Oh, of course, his name is frickin' Kevin. Kevin was originally meant to be the boy next door, with the occasional joke that Meg liked him, but he was too oblivious to notice.
Isn't baseball great? They say baseball is the national pastime. I can't taste salt.
But because Meg went from a whiny teen to the lightning rod, well, Kevin was no longer needed, I'd argue. Really? One more person to hate her? What's the point? It's not really in character for Kevin anyway. So in Steroids, Joe mentions that Kevin died off screen.
Aw, Joe, Susie's such a cute baby. And whatever happened to your son, Kevin?
You died in Iraq.
Sad.
Oh my god. But par for the course for the show, unfortunately. And of course, we'll get back to Kevin. So now, not only do Joe and Bonnie have to deal with the stress and anxiety caused by a new baby, well, they also have to deal with the death of their eldest son. I mean, the death of any child is absolutely devastating to any parent, but I'd imagine it's worse in this case, considering how, by the handwave comment, they either don't have support, as nobody knew Kevin was dead to, you know, comment on it, or they're still grieving and nobody's caring enough to help them. Maybe Joe grilling burgers like a dad was some kind of weird coping mechanism for all we knew. Sorry, I know I'm probably looking too deeply into it, but think about it. The death of a child is very powerful for parents. Because of the grieving process, it can either bring them together, because they're united in their grief, as screwed up as it is to say, or it can drive them apart, because they push away the unimaginable. And with Kevin, I think to a major degree, it pushed them both away. Both want their son back, but being so alone, so to speak, only made their problems way worse. Because from this point on, we do get scenes of Bonnie openly cheating on Joe, and they're all played for laughs. Albeit normally it's done with Joe's permission, like in Stewie Kills Lois, where she sleeps with Peter to help cheer him up after Lois dies.
I don't know, Bonnie. It's just a little weird. Joe's a friend of mine.
No, it's okay. I promise you it's okay.
I'm not sure.
It's okay, Peter.
Actually, Kitty, that's a simulation. Yes, Catherine, I know, but the point is that if Stewie were to kill Lois, this is what would have happened. Plus, I'd argue he knows Joe and Bonnie well enough that he knows this is how both of them would act in such a situation. But you know what isn't a simulation? April and Quahog, aka the episode where she cheats on Joe with Quagmire.
I'm a virgin, Joe. I don't want to die a virgin. Help me, please.
I guess so. For my friend, on our last day on Earth.
You're a good man, Joe Swanson.
Weirdly, in this instance, I can get why she did it, since she and everybody else thought it was the end of the world. But it wasn't. It was a prank by Channel 5.
How was your first time?
I just wanted to have it again. Screw you.
Who else but Quagmire?
Which probably made it worse in that case. A theme of the episode was everybody wanting to do things they couldn't before. Horrible things like Brian praying despite being an atheist. Or, saying things like Peter admitting he never really liked his kids. And once they get the alert they're gonna live, well, you can't exactly take it all back, can you? Bonnie just cheated on her husband, but unlike Stewie kills Lois, because it's not a simulation, she can't just take it back. Is it any wonder she's perfectly fine having more affairs? I mean, once you break the seal, which includes almost leaving Joe, something that was expressed in Foreign Affairs. In Foreign Affairs, Lois and Bonnie go to Paris. Oh god, I can't go to Paris. They're either gonna get taken or revolutioned. Because when you go to Paris, chances are either one of those two things will happen. Or something miraculous, I don't know. But keep in mind, they're only going by themselves. No husbands or kids or anything. Girls trip. Next time they should go to Mexico. Lois has a whole itinerary full of touristy stuff, since she's a total Hallie, to quote Butters. Oh, did you guys hear the new season's coming out in July? But Bonnie confesses the real reason she went to Paris.
I came here to have an affair.
An affair? With who?
Anyone?
My God.
Wait, but then why did you invite Lois? I don't think the episode ever actually says, but I have a few ideas. Maybe Bonnie thought that Lois wouldn't mind, since, like her, Lois struggles with a husband she resents. Like maybe she'd be like, oh, are you really one to talk? You slept around with Bill Clinton. You slept with so many men they call you Loose Lois. Maybe she thought she was doing Lois a favor, like, Lois, I'm gonna be sleeping around. You go have your own dream vacation. Maybe she thought Lois would join her in sleeping around the Ton. Really, why do they call it the Ton in Bridgerton? It just sounds about as pretentious as naming your kids alphabetically. Even my spell check keeps thinking I'm writing town instead of ton. But anyways, Bonnie wants to have an affair, cheat on Joe, and just assume Lois won't tell anybody. Wow, she's got some balls. I don't know. Normally, as a friend, I operate on the whole, it's not my place, none of my business idea. But unless it's like a Nancy John Redcorn thing where the lie grew too big that you can't really say it without ruining everything, or everybody was in on it, this would be one of the few times I'd probably break that rule, just because I feel like cheating is one of those few things that everybody deserves to know. I mean, unless you're like abusive in that case, but you know what I mean. Granted, in my experience, most people won't believe they're being cheated on at first, unfortunately, but that's just me and my brain. But the good part of me, the optimistic part of me, thinks that Bonnie, at least subconsciously, knew what she was doing was incredibly wrong, and she wanted Lois there to talk her out of it or sabotage her. I mean, maybe not, but considering how Lois was the one to fix things at the end, I can believe it.
Oh, Bonnie, would you look at that? I've never seen anything like that before. A croissant with almonds on it.
You mean a bear claw? Right, isn't that what those things are called?
And could you bring me a beer? Oh, I feel so elegant.
Although the beer thing I understand. When I was in high school, I was forced to take 3 years of French, and part of that I learned that when you go to Europe, even to McDonald's, they give you a knife and fork for your meal, and the cars don't have cup holders. You can honestly buy them serving beers with bear claws. It feels heavenly. After Bonnie keeps making a lot of innuendos and out the windows, Lois tries to put a stop to it.
Throw away all those years with Joe?
I'm not throwing anything away. Joe and I have been growing apart for a long time. Besides, we've had a good run. We've been married for 80 years.
See, what did I tell you? This was a long time coming. The pair grew apart. Bonnie might have resented being more of a nursemaid than a wife. They had problems they never admitted to, and the end result is that Bonnie now wants to go to Red Lobster instead of Long John Silver. Since Bonnie probably never really dated anybody who isn't Joe, well, we see her choice in men is pretty crappy. Like this dude, who they don't name, really is not charming. But Bonnie, because it's either this guy or Lois, she's obviously gonna choose him.
Bonnie?
Would you like to sample a warm French baguette?
Oh my.
Oh my god, I've dealt with creeps like this. Bonnie, it's not worth throwing your entire marriage away for what's going to amount to 5 seconds in a bathroom stall. I mean, maybe if it's the stall at the end, but no. Good thing Lois is there.
You're playing with fire. Look, no marriage is perfect, but Joe's the man you gave your life to. And besides, you have a little girl. You really want to be setting this kind of example?
Actually, this is a weird thing I'm surprised the episode did not comment on, and I didn't realize until I got to this part. Technically, Bonnie and Lois have cheated with each other. Cleveland did ask them to kiss before he and Junior left for stool band, and it went farther than just a peck on the lips, and we know that Lois did rub the sunscreen on Bonnie in a way that she commented on was weird.
Oh, but I don't want to get any on my shirt.
You're going a little low there, Lois.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm surprised the episode didn't make a joke about that, or said that they went farther than that off screen. Like, you're one to talk, Lois. Think of all the dirty things we've gotten up to when the cameras weren't rolling. But Lois talks her out of it by bringing up the person who will be most affected by it. Her daughter. What people don't know can't hurt them. It's sad how true this is. But Bonnie listens for like 5 seconds.
Lois, didn't you see I tied a tampon to the doorknob?
No? What does that mean?
It's what we used to do in our sorority when we had company.
Company? What?
You know, there actually was one. That's a good attention to detail episode. But Bonnie has started sleeping around with a man named Francois. Really? Oh, I guess I'm gonna go to Maryland and cheat with a girl named Marilyn Monroe. So is Francois supposed to be like derived from France, or is it like the other way around? Like, why do they look and sound so familiar? I've always been curious. But I'll comment on the irony later.
Don't make a big deal about it. I just needed a change from Joe.
Bonjour.
Lois, this is Francois.
Oh, you're serious.
A few days later, Francois asks Bonnie to stay in Paris with him indefinitely, and she seriously considers it?
I can't believe what I'm hearing right now. You can't do this, Bonnie.
Oh, is that right? Now you're telling me what I can and can't do?
You know, excluding Susie, who Bonnie would be abandoning if she left, in addition to Joe, I feel like there's something nobody is saying. Well, 2 things. Now, as an Italiana, I am allowed to comment on it, what with our culture of gumads and all that jazz. If you're cheating outside of a quick fling, you should never seriously get together. Why? Because 98% of the time, chances are you're only really attracted to the fact you're not supposed to be doing it, and once you get to the relationship stage, there won't really be anything there because you can't base an entire relationship, like a marriage, just off of sleeping together covertly. Where chances are, if they're cool cheating, knowing they're either with someone or that you're with someone, well, what's really gonna keep them with you? If they're willing to cheat, they would be willing to cheat on you next, especially when they get bored of you. And that's not me being crazy. That's the truth. That's how cheating works. They care so little for that person that they're willing to just throw it away. Obviously, it's different if there is an agreement, like if it's an open relationship or it's poly or something, because communication does go a long way, and those types of relationships require a lot of emotional detachment, I'd argue, and trust on your end. Like, if you're able to do that and make it work, I majorly respect you, but this clearly isn't what's happening here. She does not have Joe's permission, Joe doesn't have her permission, she's just bored of Joe and wants something new. And I don't even have to bring up the fact that Bonnie is cheating on Joe because she resents having to take care of him. She's going to start resent taking care of Francois once the novelty of the affair wears off and she realizes he's just another Joe with a French accent. And while yes, every disability is different, this is Family Guy. Chances are he's like Joe on crack. Somebody she's beginning to resent and have murder fantasies about, but Bonnie decides to stay with Francois despite what Lois says. Idiot. But Lois knew she was going to say that, so she invited Joe to physically come to France and reconcile.
I'm sorry that I've been neglecting you lately, but I love you.
I'm sorry. This is so hard.
Think about what we have together, honey. Think about our little girl.
Which I know they keep bringing up Susie, and Susie is important, especially in terms of pathos, but I feel like they're ignoring the real reasons Bonnie is having an affair. Actually, whenever they do episodes like this, I feel like they usually ignore it. Which isn't me trying to justify or excuse her, it's just that I understand why she's doing it. The episode just ignores it. She feels neglected, and she feels like the only thing they have at this point is the Florence Nightingale effect. Because this problem will just get bigger and bigger as we go on. To prove his love to Bonnie, Joe decides to do something. The impossible. Possible? I'm trying to say it with a French accent. The impossible.
Joe! I don't believe it! You're walking!
I am!
I would do anything for love.
but I won't do that.
You know, I know that Francois is a Joe clone, so he probably can't walk, but this was something I learned from going to cons because TV never told me and neither did real life. Well, I had no clue that just because you're in a wheelchair, that doesn't always mean you're, like, unable to walk, as weird as it is to say. You can potentially walk short distances, but you will still need the chair as a mobility aid. In fact, I had no clue about this. Paraplegic versus ambulatory might be used interchangeably like POV versus perspective, but they mean completely different things. Again, like POV versus perspective. Paraplegic means paralyzed from the waist down, so you absolutely cannot walk without a chair. Ambulatory means you do need the chair, but you're not completely confined to it. And no, people like that probably aren't faking BGW. It's way more common than you think. I don't know. It was just, I hate to say it the way I'm gonna say it, it was cool to learn when I eventually did, just because it was a major misconception I had to unlearn. I'm just surprised Family Guy has never made a joke about it, like, wait, Francois, can you walk? Well, Bonnie, the truth is, I'm wheelchair bound because of a chronic disease. I'm not a paraplegic. So you see, yeah, I think I've seen enough. I'm gonna go home with Joe. But BTW, Joe did not actually walk. He just duct taped Quagmire to his waist to give the illusion of walking.
Let's go home, Joe.
Well, considering how Peter squished him when they were cuddling, this is like a 2-nickel situation. So Bonnie and Joe are back together and everything is sunshine, butterflies, rainbows, right? Wrong. In Thanksgiving, Kevin comes home as, in truth, he wasn't really dead. He just deserted when he began to disagree with the Iraqi war. Bonnie is delighted to have her son back, but once again, her and Joe clash on a major issue. Joe's happy Kevin is back too, but as a cop, he feels like he has a duty to turn Kevin in for desertion, whereas Bonnie thinks that just because Kevin is home, it doesn't matter. Plus, honestly, he's probably legally dead or something, and whatever issue he caused, they can get through as a family. And they actually fight a little. Like, it doesn't go any further than Bonnie trying to put her foot down, but it's a big deal compared to what usually happens. Because, no offense, you can still be a healthy couple and fight.
Come on, Kevin, I'm taking you to jail.
Joe, wait!
Not now, Bonnie.
Joe, you can't!
Bonnie, we'll discuss this later.
Joe! You're not taking my son anywhere!
But because you guys know how I feel about this episode, stuff happens, and Kevin gets to stay with his family without getting arrested or fined. The thing is, well, because Family Guy loves slanderizing characters so they can make one-note vehicle quick jokes, Kevin goes from the boy next door to PTSD-riddled war veteran who can't just get therapy or something. Meaning Bonnie now has to take care of 3 people with very little support from anyone. Susie, a baby who's completely helpless, Joe, who does require a lot of work, and Kevin, who does have a lot of flashbacks and needs help. And when she does ask for support, like when she had to go take care of her father, see, now she's taking care of more people. Well, either she can't get support, or somebody makes fun of her or her family. Or, as was the case with the hand that rocks the wheelchair, she gets arrested, which we do see in Internal Affairs.
Kevin just woke up screaming from his afternoon nap.
Mom, it's my birthday and you invited your friends.
All yours are dead!
Like, I know it's just a quick joke, but, like, think about it. She's so tired of taking care of him that she starts to snap. It makes you wonder how frequent this is. Actually, Internal Affairs is an interesting episode, as it shows what would happen if she was the one who got cheated on. And it's interesting karma, even if I do get why she's kind of angry. Joe has busted a major cocaine ring. People actually do that outside of cons? Wait, I mean, but the bust was so cool that the chief of police is throwing Joe a party to celebrate, and he asked Bonnie to attend, which strangely she isn't excited about.
That's great, Joe.
You don't seem very excited.
I don't know if I can take another evening of sympathetic eye contact from all the other wives.
Which is a weird statement to make. It makes you wonder if in the earlier episodes, Bonnie was just masking how she felt about Joe and his condition. Like maybe it actually did bother her to not be able to party with everybody else because Joe couldn't. But that's her husband, so maybe she feel like she had to sit it out for him. Now she can't even fake a smile. Even smiling makes my face ache. Like maybe they reconciled, but because they never faced their issue head on, i.e. that Bonnie feels like she has to take care of him, she just went back to faking it, with way less gusto than before. So Bonnie doesn't go, only Joe. Hey, that rhymes. At the party, Joe meets Nora, a recent police academy graduate who joined the Quahog force, and Nora kisses him.
You know how they say never meet your heroes? Well, they don't say anything about kissing them.
Whoa!
Yeah, no, that is like majorly inappropriate. Surprised Joe didn't report her. But let me just say that in this instance, no, Joe was not cheating, at least at first. To me, cheating implies equal partnership. That's usually why I hate when shows only take one person and blame them, not the other person. Like, you both actively did it, and Nora was the one who did it. If Joe leaned in or kept kissing after she did it, then yeah, he was cheating, but he was caught off guard. So no, he was not cheating as was. Joe tells the guys that Nora kissed him, and they're all like, nice. Whereas with Bonnie, her friends were all like, hell no. Granted, they do bring this up. In this instance, they believe that Joe should go further and cheat on Bonnie physically, considering how she cheated on him.
Real hit above the belt. But I'm still not sure that's a reason to betray Bonnie.
Sleeping with this girl will even things up. You can't have that kind of imbalance in your relationship. In fact, you owe it to Bonnie.
And honestly, I am a bit confused on how to feel about this, because I feel like in this instance, as far as they knew, the pair did make up. Joe forgave Bonnie, and two wrongs don't really make a right, I hate to say. Plus, well, I guess they had the scene at first of Bonnie being like, ugh, Joe, I don't care about your accomplishment. You do get why she said it, even if I do think she should have gone to support Joe. The next morning, Nora, to her credit, does try to apologize to Joe, but he goes ahead with having an affair in his special stall.
I've never seen a sofa in a bathroom stall before.
Well, I'm the only one who comes in here, so I figured I'd make it my own. How are you enjoying your steak?
It's delicious.
Kinda reminds me of Kinger and his pillow fort. A few days later, the Griffins attend Kevin's birthday party. Already showed that clip, don't have to do it again. And Joe tells the guys that he did indeed take their advice and slept with Nora, which is getting to him, which is overheard by Bonnie via a baby monitor.
You cheated on me? You bastard!
Bonnie, please.
After all I do for you, this is how you repay me!
Bonnie is of course pissed when she finds out, and I know y'all are probably like, oh well, it's karma. And yes, I do agree to some degree it is, like what goes around comes around. But remember, Bonnie didn't cheat because she hated Joe, she just cheated because she felt unloved, which I do think in most cases is not an excuse to cheat. You should tell your spouse about that, but I get why she did. Whereas the only reason Joe cheated was because he was pressured to, I'd argue. Which doesn't make it better, but I hate to argue, he had less of a reason to cheat than Bonnie. However, it does uncover giant cracks in their relationship, I'd argue. Neither can really trust another anymore. And as Bonnie points out,
I never slept with Francois.
What? Yeah, but Peter said...
Lois, didn't you say that Bonnie slept with him?
No, Peter, I said she wanted to.
Damn it, Peter!
Bonnie is a lying liar who lies. They definitely did, over the course of several days. She even told Lois, I don't want you coming in here because I had company and I tied something to the door to tell you I had company.
I invited you on this trip to hang out while I have sex with strangers, and this is how you repay me?
Plus, I hate to say it, the issue wasn't to make sure Bonnie wouldn't cheat with Joe, because chances are she probably did. It was for the other characters to make sure that she didn't stay in France with him. I don't know, this just seems like a retcon. And normally, I hate to say it, I don't mind retcons if they make sense in universe. This just clearly was added to make Bonnie seem more sympathetic. Like, oh, she didn't really cheat physically, even if she had a tampon on the door. And even if Francois said they were intimate. But like I said above, yes, it does show that the pair actually have a lot of bottled up issues, which they are going to explode at each other in front of other people. Ooh, dinner and a show.
Put up with that
Horrible voice.
I perform purification rituals on my bot. I find it cleanses the immeasurable sadness of having lain with a wretch.
The end result is the pair deciding to divorce. What was that? That was the sound of a divorce. Because I can't say the other line, I'm sorry.
I want a divorce!
You got it!
Sorry, I opened some of the gifts.
Well, so much for Susie, right? Oh, and Kevin. Now it's even worse. Now you're breaking up 2 kids, not 1. I guess it's a bit better in this instance, since Bonnie would presumably still be in the US. Lois blames Peter for what transpired, but not Quagmire, who assisted him. Even if it is Peter's fault, I do think they had bigger issues that Peter just brought to the forefront. Because the issue wasn't like cheating, it was them saying they've been unhappy for a long time. However, Peter does have a way to right this wrong. Joe tells him how he and Bonnie met. When Bonnie worked at a strip club as a stripper, and Joe was a cop. They danced to Africa by Toto, which is how I learned what that song was, and to this day, it is very catchy for me. They recreate the meet cute, and it works. Albeit, I think even in this instance, they didn't totally make up or admit to any of their problems. They just said they had problems, and yeah, it's a good first step to admit you have problems. But the thing about first step is, now you gotta take the others. You go to therapy, you make up, you do the work. They don't do any of that. They just say sorry. And sorry, Charlie, literally in this case, it does not always start with sorry, unless you're Serpentious. Sorry, Penny. Now you're dead. Well, I mean it does, but you know what I mean. Oh my god. Because from here on, since Joe and Bonnie admit they hate each other, and they hate being divorced, since they can't be with people and they can't be alone, and couples therapy apparently isn't an option, well, we get all of those infamous jokes where Bonnie has these violent murder fantasies come to life of Joe dying so she can be free. The first being in The Most Interesting Man in the World, where she goes with Joe to a gun range with clear intent.
Bonnie invited me to the shooting range.
What?
Yeah, Bonnie says she goes every week.
I think next time you should bring someone else.
Or Brian the Closer, where she buys a house from Brian that can kill Joe.
I'll take it.
Again, I hate what happened to these two, but unfortunately, I get it. Is it any wonder we eventually got the Heartbreak Dog, where Bonnie finally runs away from home to have an affair for real, kind of like they thought she would with Francois? With Brian? Whose crack ship was this? And I thought Klaus and Roger made no sense. Joe throws Bonnie a party for her 46th birthday. Really? Joe and Bonnie are like that old? Honestly, I can weirdly get that, no joke. And that's not me being rude. They really do give me that vibe. I mean, Quagmire is apparently 61. Plus, I guess it was either because this was presumably recorded remotely, or it's an unfortunate sign that Jennifer Tilly is going down the route of Julie Kavner, which sucks because I like the both of them, since Bonnie's voice now sounds kinda different.
Always letting you know she's open for business.
What? When am I doing that?
Oh, come on. When are you not doing that? With that boo-boo baby voice?
Maybe Chucky wasn't lying. Maybe the real Jennifer Tilly recorded this from a bird cage in her basement. You know, I'm surprised they've never made any Chucky reference to this, like how Jennifer Tilly is like a horror star, because this would be cool. I mean, come on, Chucky has a kid in the show. I mean, technically he has two, but you know what I mean. To celebrate, Joe puts together a video about their honeymoon before his accident, where they're all smiles, and then shows them at that same place 10 years later, after Joe was paralyzed, and Bonnie looks as deflated as an old balloon.
Well, let's break for presents, but after that I'll show you Susie's birth video, and I'll tell you, she fell out of there like an orange out of an old dress sock.
Two things. One, this is giving me Lois comes out of her shell vibes, but a lot more sympathetic, I'd argue, since Lois is a terrible person, whereas Bonnie, I do admit she's not the best person, but unlike Lois, I can at least see where she's coming from, so I side with her a bit more. And two, Joe, now you're just rubbing it in. They were all present at Susie's birth, I'm sure they saw that. This gets to Bonnie, who goes to her room to cry, where she's overheard by Brian.
Bonnie?
I told you, Joe, when we're alone, you can call me Bonald.
No, it's me, Brian. Is that your real name?
Your name is Bonald? That is weirdly cute. Better than Bonnabelle. Unlike Chris, Bonnie never makes me feel bonita. Bonnie confesses that she hates her birthday because she's felt like she spent most of her adult life holding herself back in order to take care of Joe, and she can never live her dreams like making jewelry, which I know a lot of people hated. Just, I weirdly understand it for the reasons I gave. Because did you not watch this video?
But now I'm 46, and all I've ever done is take care of Joe.
And now you feel like you never had a chance to be your true self.
Yeah.
Weirdly, even though this episode is nothing special, I do think it's an amazing deconstruction of how Joe and Bonnie typically are. Brian emphasizes with Bonnie by saying he's similar.
Found me and gave me a home, but sometimes I wonder if I'd be happier on my own.
Brian, you are a lying liar who lies. We frequently see throughout the show that you hate not being with Peter, because when you're with Peter, your every need is met. You don't need to pay a single bill. And all those times you did try living on your own, something bad would always happen. So no, you don't get it. Bonnie, I understand her 100%. You, I think you're just trying to bone.
Sometimes I feel...
Trapped?
No. I was going to say, like the Von Trapps. You know, unable to leave their home in Austria.
Wait, is that why they're called the Von Trapps? Because musical? That's pretty clever if that's true. To comfort Bonnie, Brian scratches behind her ear, which honestly I do think is weirdly cute. But unfortunately, this transitions to kissing.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean...
No, it's okay. I'd better go downstairs before Joe realizes I'm gone.
Guess her and Joe are even Steven considering the retcon. Late one night, Brian tells Peter he kissed Bonnie, which is bad not only because he betrayed his friend and broke his friend's trust, but because, knowing Joe, he will kill him.
Yeah, no kidding. That's why you can't tell anybody. Promise me.
Don't worry. I'm great at keeping secrets.
Yeah, he's not Cleveland. He will definitely wring your neck out, dude. And I get Brian is upset and needs to confide in somebody, but really, you're gonna tell Peter? Go tell a priest! Go set a watchman! I know you hate priests, but they can't blab to anybody or they get defrocked. Not even the court system can get them to confess. Oh god, I could never be a priest. I'm too much of a gossipy hound. I'd be like, oh my god, did you hear? Just because I couldn't tell anybody. Some weird reverse psychology. Sometime later, Bonnie and Joe go to the Griffin house for game night. They play charades, and Bonnie leaves to go to the kitchen where she comes upon Brian.
You haven't told anyone, have you?
No, of course not. I was going to ask if you had.
Hey, Brian, can you bring me up a snack? I'm supposed to be in bed.
Lion sack of crap. Now I can get him telling Stewie, but really, Peter, they each agree it's a mistake, but they mistakenly believe there's a connection between them.
There's definitely some kind of connection between us, but...
I felt it too, but... maybe in another life, huh?
No there isn't. It was just a quick bond while Bonnie was emotionally in the dumps. You each made a major mistake and you each majorly regret it. That's it. You're neighbors, nothing more. But Peter blabs without actually blabbing that Brian and Bonnie cheated.
Is this true?
Oh my god.
I know, making out with a dog? Can you even imagine a woman who possibly does that for real?
Wait, who's that? But from what The Blind Side said, kissing Brian is like kissing a guy with a beard. I don't know about his giant oversized snout, but that's what Kate said. Brian goes to apologize the next day to Joe, which I hate to say it, I do commend him for. It was an accident, and I think even if he shouldn't have done it, well, it's better to just come out and say you did something wrong and apologize, because people majorly respect that. But, oh my god. Oh my god. I love what they do with Joe here. Normally, unless it relates to breaking the law, well, Joe is normally a pretty passive person. I feel like this is why if the pair get past their issues, they can work together, because they're both pretty passive. But here, Joe actually spends the whole episode getting revenge on Brian for kissing his wife. And not Bonnie, even though she also kissed. I don't know. You know how I feel about these things. You're both guilty. But I 100% get him doing this to Brian. Brian is his friend, so compared to Francois, it hurts more because he knew him. And normally, from Joe's perspective, well, when the cheating happens, either he's caught in the middle or he's the victim. I think it's cool that for once, Joe fought back in his own special, passive-aggressive way. Like how he gets Brian's car repoed. Or, oh my god, my personal favorite, the little booties. Joe's an ass.
Can I buy you a drink?
You know what? Sure. Thanks.
What the hell happened?
Ah! How do I walk? Are these forever?
You know, I kind of like Evil Joe. Really, he needs to make a comeback. He's like Retap. I guess he's a bit out of character, but I do love him. He's so catty. Brian rallies his neighbor to support him and asks Joe if on his behalf he could lay off. But I hate to say it, Joe kind of has a point to act like this. He even points out,
Me? I'm not the guy who violated the sanctity of someone else's marriage.
Well, you make a good point, Joe. And you're right, this is Brian.
Plus, furthermore, while I do sympathize immensely with Bonnie, it's not the first time she's done it. There is a pattern here. But Brian comes to her defense.
Okay, enough! How dare any of you criticize Bonnie?
Yeah, how dare you? That's my job. Only I get to criticize Bonnie for her choices. Wait, why am I agreeing with Brian? Now I need to purify myself after this review. Ugh. But I feel like by doing so, he's also majorly simplifying why Bonnie does it. And the episode never brings up all those other times they try to make their marriage work, which makes me wonder just what exactly happened. Like, do they say they'll do more and then like 2 weeks later go back to doing what they did? Because old habits die hard? Are they like one of those families where after they fight, they just don't talk for 2 weeks and they go through all the motions like have dinner but just don't talk, and then after that just forget they even had the argument in the first place? Because I am genuinely curious. The pair decide to run away together. Wait, how does Brian have a car? Wasn't it towed? But they decide they're going to live their lives the way they always wanted.
Listen, hear that? That is the sound of not making an enormous mistake.
I think I hear it.
But unfortunately, there's a major deconstruction awaiting them. As a housewife, Bonnie doesn't actually have any money, and neither does Brian, who is a dog, and also a failed writer. Plus, neither really had a real plan to go off of besides, let's just drive and see where the wind takes us. And they're not Velma and Louise, so they end up working at a rundown diner and sleeping in the car. Their feelings get to them, and they eventually have a major argument.
Screw you! You tweet things that aren't worth tweeting!
Well, I'm sorry, but Kim Kardashian did get famous.
We all know that! That's not yours!
Considering how he ended up like Justine Sacco, she has a point. But unlike her and Joe, the argument actually turns physical.
Wow. I am sorry. Look, this isn't us.
Whoa, that is whoa. Joe finds Bonnie explaining,
Love is a powerful compass. Anytime I quiet my mind and clear my heart, it always leads me to you. Plus, Dirtbag here has a chip in his ear.
This is good. It actually got me to chuckle. Joe apologizes once again. Oh god, not again. Seriously, just go to therapy already or get a divorce. Or just live separate lives. Or Joe, just get a nurse or somebody to take care of you so Bonnie isn't forced to be the one to always do it. Joe says he'll fight for her and take care of her, which I doubt highly, but Bonnie accepts, likely because the reality of being with a dog is way worse than being with Joe, and to show Brian there's no hard feelings, Joe shoots him in the leg. And Joe is my favorite character.
I guess just call me Cupid, huh? You're welcome.
So, Joe and Bonnie, I hate to say it, I get why. In BTW, I did not see the Heartbreak Dog before this review. Like, normally if it's a later season episode, I do this thing where at the end, I'll just type up the episode as I review it and then go back and turn the notes into the review if you don't notice. So I had no clue they actually addressed this, and I feel like I was weirdly on the money. Unfortunately, unlike Peter and Lois, the breakdown of their marriage was a long time coming. I guess this is a good case for being honest with your spouse, eh? I don't know. I don't have one, and I don't want one. Anyhow, bye!